Boys and girls, today's story is called Growing Good by Bernard Ashley and Anne Wilson. All his life, Samuel had lived in the shadow of the box factory. Each morning for 4 years, he'd woken up to its brick walls. Till one day the factory closed and they knocked it down. When the dust had settled over everyone's furniture, Samuel could look across the empty space. Now he could see Jade's flat and Faustin's flat and Arif's flat, and he could see the sun shining down instead of just shining on, and the rain falling from the sky instead of just running down the factory walls. So what's going on in its place? His granddad Jess wanted to know when the planners came. We don't want nothing taller. No plans yet. We'll see what people want, he was told. But it's got to make good use of the space. But Samuel enjoyed having the space with nothing on it. It was a football pitch one day and a cycle track the next. It was a firework display and a fairground, and then it was just a space again. One day when Samuel was going the quick way across to Jade's, he suddenly stopped and pointed to something he'd nearly trodden on. "What's this, Grandad?" he shouted. Peeping up through the dusty soil was something growing, a tendril, a plant, taking a shy look at the world. "Don't know what that is," Grandad Jess said. Samuel left the plant and ran on to play with Jade, but Grandad Jess kept it in his head, and when they got home, he looked it up in a book. "Old English foxglove," he told Samuel. "That seed slept there all these years, since before they built the factory, and with a bit of warmth and a drop of wet, it's come to life again." He sat in his chair and told Samuel about the old plants of St. Lucia, bananas and orchids and bamboo and hibiscus. He spoke with his eyes closed, and Samuel knew he was seeing pictures in his head of somewhere else altogether to hear. "Come on," he said to Samuel next day when Samuel's mother had gone to work. He took him out to where the foxglove was growing and started measuring out the empty space. Samuel held the curly tape measure as Grandad Jess marked out the ground into plots. "That gives everyone so much, with room for paths in between." "For what?" asked Samuel. "For allotments," said Grandad Jess. He put a rope around their own plot, and the two of them started digging the soil. Copying his granddad, Samuel pushed down with his foot, pulled up with his hands, and only stopped to watch the worms. While they worked, people peeped and people peered over their fences, through their windows, round their back doors, and next day Jade's grandmother was out roping a plot too, and digging it. But Steve Tot from next door didn't want gardens. "What we want here is somewhere to put our cars," he growled. "A decent car park." All the same, by the weekend, there were 10 different families out there, forking and digging, troweling and dibbing, ferning in and watering. It wasn't long before the planners buzzed in like bees. "Good use," they wagged their fingers. "What other plans you got?" Grandad Jess asked, as Samuel carried a watering can to Jade's new row of seeds, and Arif found some string for Samuel's St. Lucia beans. "I've got plans," declared Steve Tot, wanting to know how soon a car park could be rolled out. "There's no final decision till later this year," the planners said. "You'll know at the end of the summer, so you can come back and see us then," said Grandad Jess. "When my fennel comes up, I'll give you some to flavour your fish, if you can find somewhere to park," Steve Tot pushed on. But week by week, more people dug plots. Grandad Jess drew up a plan and put it on his fence. Steve Tot put up a paper for people to sign. All who want a residence car park. Samuel didn't notice any of that. His eyes were on the strip he'd planted with his seeds, watching for his St. Lucia beans to start to climb. He watched and watered, and when he thought he saw something which didn't belong, he weeded, and up the strings grew the beans, with another plant in the spaces between. The spring went into summer, people all out there on their plots, old and young and in-betweens. There was laughing and music, and the pronging of forks and the lifting of spades, but never much shouting, except from Steve Tot, if a bee came his way. And still he went around the houses with his paper. When people weren't keen, he told them how cars could get scratched in the road, after which some of them signed. Then Samuel helped Grandad Jess to go round the allotments with a paper of their own, an invitation to run a charity day at the end of the season, and everyone they asked signed the paper. Look how busy everyone is, and the plants look as if they are growing beautifully. Meanwhile, plants started to grow always too, helped by words of encouragement from the gardeners, and those plants must have understood, because when the summer sunshine gave off its true warmth and the rain felt soft, the plants began to flourish. Onion and okra and sorrel and spinach and rhubarb and raspberry and lilac and lilies. Potatoes, pumpkin and poppies, different leaves, different flowers, different colors, different uses, some for eating, some for seeing, some for smelling. The planners came on the charity day. They looked at the old factory site covered in green leaves and bright blooms and succulent fruits and pods. They looked at the growers in their colorful clothes, as bright as the plants, and at the jazz band swinging up and down the paths between the plots. They put their heads in a huddle and shook them and nodded. Then they called Steve Tot over and Grandad Jess. "Well, this looks like good use to us," they said, "and what people want. What do you say, Mr. Tot?" Steve Tot hadn't got many names on his paper. Some people with bright flowers in their hair and hands had come to cross their names off. He said, "Let's see how it goes." The planners looked at Samuel's strip. "And what have you got there, young man?" Samuel told them, "Beans from St. Lucia and in-betweens. Old foxgloves from what was growing here before." "That's nice," they said. But Samuel wasn't listening. He was off with Jade, dancing behind the jazz band in the allotment celebration. And children, I hope you enjoyed listening to how well we can use the land and grow such good things that will help make people happy and that will help give people food. Bye for now.